You're not the person you were when you clicked on this video, and by the time we're done here, you won't be the person you are right now either. Most people experience time as something that happens to them, a relentless force, always running out, always behind, always chasing the next moment while mourning the last. But what if I told you that your experience of time isn't happening to you at all? What if time, as you know it, is just one frequency in an infinite field of possibilities, and you've been stuck on the same channel your entire life? Here's the question that changes everything. Are you living in time, or is time living through you? Think about your typical day. You wake up already feeling behind. The mental countdown begins immediately. So many things to do, so little time. You rush through your morning, barely tasting your coffee, your mind already 3 hours ahead, planning, anticipating, worrying. And at night, when you finally collapse into bed, you replay it all. Did I do enough? Why does time move so fast? Where did the day go? The week? The year? Your entire life? This isn't just your experience. This is the human condition in the 21st century. We're collectively trapped in what I call temporal imprisonment, a state where time feels like our greatest enemy instead of our most natural ally. But here's what most people don't realize. The way you experience time isn't hardwired into reality. It's hardwired into your identity. And when that identity shifts, everything shifts. In quantum physics, there's a principle that sounds like science fiction but is absolute fact. The observer collapses the wave function. In simpler terms, the act of observation literally creates reality from infinite possibilities. Let me break this down because it's crucial to understanding what's about to happen to you. The quantum field exists in a state of pure potential until consciousness interacts with it. Every moment, every timeline, every version of your life exists simultaneously in this field, right now. Not in the future, not in some alternate dimension, right now. Imagine standing in front of an infinite ocean of possibilities. Each wave represents a different timeline, a different version of how this moment could unfold. When you observe, when you bring your conscious attention to one particular wave, that wave becomes your reality. The others don't disappear, they remain as potential waiting in the quantum field. Ancient Tibetan mystics called this the eternal now. Modern physicists call it quantum superposition. Same truth, different language. Same experience, different framework. The Tibetans understood through meditation and direct experience what we're now proving in laboratories, that consciousness and time are intimately connected, that the present moment contains all moments, that past, present, and future are human constructs useful for navigating physical reality, but not fundamental truths of existence. But here's where it gets interesting for you. If observation creates reality, then your current relationship with time isn't some cosmic truth you're stuck with. It's just the frequency you've been tuned to, based on your old identity. And I know you're frustrated. You've tried everything, haven't you? Time management systems that promise to unlock your productivity, color-coded calendars, the Pomodoro technique, time blocking, morning routines that start at 5 a.m., meditation apps that tell you to be present. And maybe they helped a little. Maybe for a week or two you felt more in control. But you still feel like you're drowning in time, don't you? Like there's never enough of it. Like life is speeding up and you're falling behind. Like everyone else figured out some secret that you're missing. That's because you've been trying to manage time from the wrong identity. You've been rearranging furniture on the Titanic. The problem isn't your system. The problem is the self that's using the system. Your old self experiences time as linear, scarce, and external. Past, present, and future as separate compartments. This identity is built on lack, not enough time, not enough progress, not enough life. This identity believes it exists in time. It sees time as a container that you're trapped inside, and the walls are always closing in. Every birthday reminds you that you're running out. Every deadline creates anxiety. Every wasted moment fills you with regret. Your old self is constantly looking backward with regret or forward with anxiety. It's rarely here, rarely now. And when it is forced into the present moment, it's usually through crisis or pleasure, the only two states strong enough to pull you out of temporal thinking. Think of it like a radio. You've been tuned to 98.5 FM your entire life, listening to the same song on repeat. That song is your old relationship with time. And no matter how hard you try to change the lyrics, adjust the volume, or remaster the track, it's still the same frequency. The melody is stress. The rhythm is urgency. The lyrics are about lack and loss and running out. You've heard it so many times you think it's the only song that exists. You think this is what time sounds like. But there are infinite stations, infinite frequencies, and the one you're tuned to right now, it's not serving you anymore. If it ever did. You cannot transform your experience of time by working harder within your current identity. You need to change the channel entirely. Let me show you what I mean with actual science. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research at his advanced workshops shows something remarkable. When participants enter deep meditative states and fully disconnect from their habitual identity, their brainwaves shift dramatically. The default mode network, which creates your sense of linear time and separate self, quiets down. The default mode network is like the narrator of your life, constantly telling the story of who you are and where you are in time. It's the voice that says, "I'm behind schedule," or "I'm running late," or "I don't have time for this." And when this network quiets, something extraordinary happens. And in those moments, participants report experiencing timelessness, oneness, and profound clarity, not as concepts, as direct experience. They enter states where hours pass like minutes, or minutes expand into eternities, where they can't tell if they've been meditating for 5 minutes or 5 hours. The Heart Math Institute has measured this too. When your heart coherence increases and your identity shifts from survival mode to creation mode, your perception of time literally changes. Minutes feel like hours, hours feel like minutes, time becomes fluid. They've documented cases where people in high coherence states accomplish in days what would normally take weeks, where the stress response, which speeds up your experience of time, completely disappears, and suddenly you're moving through life with an ease that seems impossible. This isn't metaphor. This is measurable, repeatable transformation happening at a neurological level. Your brain literally reorganizes its relationship with temporal perception based on your identity state. The old self lives in survival time. The new self lives in creation time. And these are two completely different experiences of the same physical phenomenon. The quantum shift in your relationship with time doesn't come from willpower. It doesn't come from positive affirmations about abundance. It comes from complete surrender of your old temporal identity. Let me be clear about what surrender means here, because it's often misunderstood. Surrender isn't giving up. It's not passivity or resignation. It's not lying down and letting life happen to you. This is quantum surrender, the recognition that your current experience of time isn't reality itself, but a construct created by your old self to maintain its survival program. Your old identity needs time to be scarce because scarcity keeps you in fight or flight, in survival, in constant vigilance. And from an evolutionary perspective, this made sense. When you're being chased by a predator, you need to feel like time is running out because it literally is. But you're not being chased by predators anymore. You're being chased by emails and deadlines and social obligations and self-imposed expectations. Your biology can't tell the difference, so it keeps you in the same stress response, which keeps you locked in survival time. When you surrender this construct, your brain begins to rewire. Neuroplasticity kicks in at a profound level. The neural pathways that kept you locked in linear, scarcity-based time begin to dissolve. New pathways form, connecting you to the quantum field where all moments exist simultaneously. This is actual physical change happening in your brain. Synaptic connections that fire together, wired together. When you repeatedly experience time as scarce and linear, those neural networks strengthen. But when you interrupt that pattern through surrender, those networks begin to weaken and new ones form. People describe this moment as liberation, not because they suddenly have more hours in the day, but because the pressure, the panic, the constant sense of running out of time just disappears. Your mental state becomes clearer. That fog of temporal anxiety lifts. The constant mental calculation of, do I have enough time for this, fades into the background. You stop mentally time traveling between past regrets and future worries. Your emotional state stabilizes. The stress response that was constantly triggered by your perception of time finally calms. Your nervous system downregulates. You exit the sympathetic state and enter parasympathetic healing. You stop living from your past or future and start living from the infinite now. This is the moment where your relationship with time collapses into something entirely new, where the old frequency dissolves and you find yourself tuned to a station you didn't even know existed. Here's what scares most people about this shift. They think letting go of their old relationship with time means losing control, losing structure, falling into chaos. I've seen this resistance countless times. People say things like, if I don't stress about time, nothing will get done. If I'm not constantly pushing, I'll fall behind. If I let go of my schedules and systems, my life will fall apart. But that fear is the old identity speaking. The false self that's convinced you that without constant vigilance, everything will fall apart. Here's the truth. You've never been in control. Not really. Think about it. Have you ever had a day go exactly as planned? Have you ever controlled traffic, or other people's responses, or unexpected events, or the weather, or 1,000 other variables that affect your time? What you're actually letting go of is the illusion that you were ever in control of time in the first place. You weren't managing time. Time was managing you. Your perception of time was dictating your stress levels, your decisions, your entire experience of being alive. The real you, the quantum you, doesn't fight against time. You move with the intelligence of life itself, and when you do, something miraculous happens. You get more done with less effort. The right opportunities appear at the right moment. Synchronicities multiply. I know this sounds counterintuitive. We've been conditioned to believe that more effort equals more results, that pushing harder, grinding longer, forcing outcomes is the path to success. But nature doesn't work that way. Trees don't strain to grow. Rivers don't struggle to flow. Planets don't stress about their orbits. They move with the intelligence that orchestrates all of life. Ancient Buddhist teachings talk about timeless presence, a state where you're so fully in the moment that time ceases to exist as a separate phenomenon. You and the moment are one. There's no gap between you and what's happening. Modern neuroscience confirms that when you exit the stress response and enter coherence, you perform better, think clearer, and paradoxically accomplish more while feeling like you're doing less. Studies show that people in flow states, where time disappears, are up to 500% more productive than in normal states. Athletes call it being in the zone. Artists call it channeling. Scientists call it deep work. But they're all describing the same phenomenon, a collapse of the separation between self and time. This isn't about losing yourself. This is about finding the self that was always there beneath the temporal anxiety. The self that existed before you learned to fear time, before you internalized the message that you're behind, that you're running out, that you need to hurry. That self is still there, waiting. And it doesn't experience time the way your false self does. I'll never forget the moment I surrendered my old relationship with time. I was sitting in my apartment, calendar completely full, to-do list bleeding into tomorrow and next week and next month. I was drowning. This was 3 years ago. I was running 3 businesses, trying to maintain relationships, attempting to take care of my health, and constantly feeling like I was failing at all of it. Every morning, I'd open my planner and feel my chest tighten. Every evening, I'd review what I didn't accomplish and the anxiety would spike. I had tried everything, every productivity system, every time management book. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. to win the morning. I'd batch tasks and time block and eliminate distractions, and still I felt like I was drowning. And in that moment of complete exhaustion, something broke. Not me, the illusion. I stopped fighting. I stopped trying to manage, control, optimize. I just let go. Completely. I sat there and said to the universe, I don't know how to do this anymore. If there's another way, show me. It wasn't a request. It was a surrender, a white flag raised to an enemy I'd been fighting my entire adult life. What happened next wasn't dramatic. There was no lightning bolt, no angelic choir, no immediate revelation. In fact, at first, I felt nothing but emptiness. Like I'd stepped off a cliff and was waiting to fall. But over the next few days, I noticed something. Time felt different. Spacious. Like I was moving through water instead of running on a treadmill. I stopped checking my calendar obsessively. I stopped mentally calculating how much time each task would take. I stopped feeling that constant pressure in my chest every time I looked at a clock. Instead, I started following something else. An inner knowing. A sense of what wanted to happen next rather than what I thought should happen next. The old me would have panicked, scrambling to control every minute. The new me simply followed what felt aligned in each moment. And somehow everything that needed to happen happened. Not just happened, but flowed. Projects that used to take weeks took days. Not because I worked faster, but because I stopped working against the current of life. I stopped forcing outcomes and started allowing them to unfold. Meetings that I would have dreaded became effortless conversations. Work that felt like grinding became natural expression. Time that felt scarce became abundant. And the strangest part? I started accomplishing more with less effort. My revenue increased, my relationships deepened, my health improved. All while feeling like I was doing less, not more. That was 3 years ago. And I can tell you now, I will never go back to the old way. Because I've tasted what it's like to live in quantum time, and linear time feels like a prison by comparison. The freedom isn't in having more time. It's in no longer being controlled by time. In no longer experiencing every moment through the filter of not enough. So how do you know if you're ready for this shift? How do you know if this is happening to you right now? There are signs. Reality glitches. Synchronicities that are too precise to be coincidence. You keep seeing repeating numbers, 1111, 222, 333, on clocks, receipts, license plates. The same themes showing up in conversations, articles, dreams. At first, you might dismiss these as coincidence, but they keep happening, and they get more specific, more impossible to ignore. You'll think about someone you haven't spoken to in years, and they text you within hours. You'll need information, and the exact book or video you need appears in your feed. You'll have a question, and a stranger answers it unprompted. These aren't random. These are the quantum field showing you that the veil is thinning, that you're beginning to perceive beyond the linear construct, that you're starting to access the layer of reality where all moments exist simultaneously. In quantum time, past, present, and future aren't separate. They're accessible right now. That's why you can think of someone and they appear. Because in quantum time, the thought and the manifestation are the same moment. There's also something I call divine dissatisfaction. You can't go back to the old way of doing things, but you haven't fully stepped into the new way yet. It's uncomfortable, restless, like you're between two worlds. Your old life doesn't fit anymore. The things you used to care about feel hollow. The goals you used to chase feel empty. The pace you used to maintain feels exhausting. But you can't quite see the new way clearly either. You know something is changing, but you can't articulate what. You feel pulled towards something, but you don't know what it is. This is actually a sign you're in the process. You're in the gap between identities.
The old you is dissolving, and the new you is forming. It's like being a caterpillar in the chrysalis. You're not a caterpillar anymore, but you're not yet a butterfly either. And sometimes there's the dark night of the soul, where everything you thought you knew about yourself and time collapses, where you feel lost, disoriented, like you're dying. This is the most challenging phase. Everything that gave your life structure and meaning seems to fall away. You question everything: your purpose, your path, your identity. Time itself feels alien and strange. You might experience what feels like depression, but it's not quite that. It's a dissolution, a death of the false self. And it can be terrifying if you don't understand what's happening. You're not dying. Your old identity is. And that's exactly what needs to happen. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by trying harder to be a caterpillar. It dissolves completely. Its form breaks down into primordial soup before reorganizing into something entirely new. That's what's happening to you in the dark night. Your old relationship with time, your old identity, your old way of being in the world, it's all dissolving so something new can emerge. These signs aren't problems to be solved. They're invitations to let go deeper, to trust the process, to surrender more completely to the transformation that's already underway. There's a threshold in this process, a moment where the transformation becomes irreversible, where you cross from the old temporal identity into the quantum one. This is the irreversible moment.
And it requires something from you that most people aren't willing to give: complete trust. Not belief, not hope. Trust. Belief is mental. I believe this might work. Hope is emotional. I hope this works out. But trust is deeper. Trust is cellular. It's the knowing that comes from a place beyond your mind and emotions. Trust that the intelligence that orchestrates galaxies, that grows forests, that beats your heart without your conscious effort, can also orchestrate your life. Think about that for a moment. Your heart beats about 100,000 times a day. Your lungs breathe about 20,000 times. Your body performs millions of chemical reactions every second. Cells die and regenerate. Wounds heal. Food becomes energy. And you don't control any of it consciously. There's an intelligence running your body right now that's infinitely smarter than your conscious mind. An intelligence that knows how to create a human from 2 cells, that knows how to synchronize trillions of processes simultaneously. The same intelligence that beats your heart can orchestrate your life if you let it. The choice at this threshold is simple but profound. Will you try to control time, or will you allow time to move through you? Will you keep white-knuckling your way through life, trying to force outcomes, managing every minute, stressing about every delay? Or will you relax into the flow of life's intelligence? This isn't about forcing anything. It's about surrendering to a process that's already happening. The quantum shift doesn't need your effort. It needs your permission. When you stop resisting, when you stop trying to make transformation happen on your timeline, that's when it happens instantly. The moment you truly let go, not pretend to let go, not try to let go, but actually let go, everything shifts. Time shifts. Reality shifts. Your entire experience of being alive shifts. This is the threshold, the point of no return. And on the other side is a way of being that you can barely imagine from where you are now. Once you fully embody this new relationship with time, everything changes. Not just your calendar, your entire experience of being alive. Your intuition sharpens dramatically. You start knowing things before they happen.
Not because you're psychic, but because you're no longer limited to the linear cause and effect timeline. You're tapped into the quantum field, where past, present, and future are one. You know who's calling before you check your phone. You know what someone's going to say before they say it. You know which path to take before you understand why. This isn't magic, it's natural. You're accessing information from the quantum field that exists outside linear time. You're reading probability waves before they collapse into physical events. Your creativity explodes. Ideas flow effortlessly because you're not trying to force them into existence. You're receiving them from the field. Writer's block disappears. Problem solving becomes natural. Innovation emerges spontaneously because you're not trying to think your way to creativity, you're channeling it from the source. In quantum time, all ideas already exist. Your job isn't to create them. It's to tune into the frequency where they already are and allow them to flow through you. You feel deeply connected to life's intelligence. Quantum trust replaces fear and doubt. You know at a cellular level that you're exactly where you need to be, exactly when you need to be there. The anxieties about being behind dissolves completely. The fear of missing out disappears. The constant comparison to others fades because you understand that everyone is on their own timeline, and your timeline is perfect for you. You stop forcing outcomes and start allowing them. You stop pushing and start receiving. You stop grinding and start flowing. And paradoxically, you accomplish more. Not through effort, but through alignment. Not through willpower, but through surrender. Not through time management, but through time transcendence. This isn't some distant spiritual achievement. This is available right now, in this moment, because that's the only moment that ever exists. The question isn't whether you can access this state. The question is whether you're willing to let go of everything that's preventing you from accessing it right now. If you felt the pull of this message, if something inside you recognized this truth, then you're already in the quantum shift. You're already changing your relationship with time. The fact that you're here, that you've watched this far, that these words are resonating with something deep inside you, that's not coincidence. That's the quantum field responding to your readiness. You didn't find this video found you. Because when you're ready for transformation, transformation finds you. And you're ready. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be here. Hit that notification bell because the next video will go live soon and you don't want to miss it. This information could change everything about how you experience not just time, but your entire life. And before you go, sit with this question. What if the shift in your experience of time isn't something that's going to happen to you in the future, but something that's already happening through you right now? What if you're already living in quantum time and you just haven't noticed it yet? What if every moment of frustration with time, every experience of time scarcity, every feeling of being behind, what if all of that was just preparing you for this realization? What if the old relationship with time had to dissolve completely so the new one could emerge? What if you're not watching this video in linear time at all, but in a quantum moment where all versions of you exist simultaneously and the version of you that has already transcended time is reaching back to show you the way? Sit with that. Feel it. Let it rewire something deep inside you. The shift isn't coming. The shift is here, right now, in this moment. Welcome to quantum time.